The health and fitness industry, it's such a big market and it's very marketable because everybody wants to be healthy and everybody wants to be fit. Social media is flooded with influencers that sell their body image and use that to spread a message of health and fitness. And while that isn't inherently bad, I think for the most part, many of us have lost touch with what health really means. So in today's video, I'd like to dive into that a little more. Let's talk about health before we talk about fitness. Welcome to the whiteboard. It's a pretty rugged setup, but it'll do the job for today. When we're talking about health, in health and fitness, we've really got to look at the defining principles that underpin health. And I'm not going to get too deep into the physiology and the biology because I want this to be relatable to everybody. I want my mum to watch this and understand this just as well as a 25-year-old uni student that's just finished a Bachelor of Exercise and Sports Science. These are the defining principles. So we shouldn't get too nerdy. And funnily enough, the nerds get this wrong anyway. So let's look at it. The defining principles that we're going to work with today, we've got metabolism. Most people know the word metabolism, but very few can actually tell me what metabolism means. We're going to break that down. And then we've got homeostasis, this funny looking word here, and we're going to talk about what that word means and how it pertains to not only metabolism, but our health in general. So let's have a look at metabolism first. Metabolism is simply the rate of efficiency at which you can adapt to a stimulus. And that is based on the interplay of these 11 systems that are happening within your body all the time. Let me give you an example of how these systems work without you even being conscious of it. If I was to take your conscious mind, what some would call your soul, out of your body and just lay you on a table, so you were in a complete vegetative state, these 11 systems, your cardiovascular system, your skeletal system, muscular system, most of these systems you've heard of, respiratory system, your digestive system, these systems would still be working, would be functioning to create a manifestation of you. You would just be a bag of pudding with sticks in it. No conscious expression, no thought. That's what your metabolism essentially is. It is the interplay of these 11 systems to create an organism, and that organism is then going to spend however long it's alive adapting to the environment around it. That's your metabolism, made real simple. And we can measure that. We can measure your metabolism based on any of these 11 systems to see how quote unquote healthy you are when it comes to the rigors of the environment you find yourself in. Now we jump across to homeostasis, and homeostasis is just a little, kind of an offshoot or a subsection to metabolism. Neither is more important than the other because they work together, but homeostasis as an offshoot of metabolism is simply the current state at which you have adapted. It's neither good nor bad. It just is. And I can give you an example of how homeostasis works. But first, let's have a look at this little continuum here. On this far right side, we've got a positive, and on this far left side, we've got a negative. Often this is how homeostasis is represented or demonstrated. And when you are exposed to a stimulus, the needle in the middle will either tip to the right or to the left. And this is to denote that potentially a stimulus may not be good for you in the long run. But remember that there are no quote unquote good or bad stimulus, there are just stimulus. And then you will adapt to that stimulus. And the rate at which you adapt to it is your metabolism. Now let's break this homeostasis out so that we can start moving back towards metabolism and make it a bit more relatable. Say you've never taken a smoke before in your life, a cigarette, and you're going to go and have a drag of a cigarette. As you take that first drag, you're going to start coughing. You're experiencing the stimulus for the first time, and your body is rejecting the stimulus because it's not used to it. Now, some would argue that this is going to be pushing you towards the negative end of this continuum, and rightfully so, because there's a lot of science out there that proves that smoking can be quite detrimental to your health. However, after a few weeks of smoking, you stop coughing. So you've adapted to the rigors, the stimulus, that is smoking. And now you are no longer flitting over towards this negative in terms of the reaction to the stimulus. You're now sitting in the middle because the state at which you have adapted to that cigarette is now balanced. So you're no longer coughing or showing negative signs or reactions to that stimulus. You've now balanced yourself out. You are in the middle. You have now adapted. The rate at which you have adapted is inconsequential for now. Let's just understand that you've actually adapted to the smoking. Does that make smoking good for you? Because you're no longer showing those negative signs, those reactions, those symptoms. Again, many would argue, no, it doesn't make it good for you. Therefore, based on the science that has been put out for many, many years, that stimulus and adaptation may be perceived as negative. And there can be some negative consequences that come from adapting to a stimulus, such as smoking. So while our homeostasis is balanced, it is neutral, we are in a state of dysfunction metabolically because of the negative effects that occur within the system, within our systems, from smoking. And this is the interplay between homeostasis and metabolism. And I'm very fond of this saying, just because it feels like it's good for you doesn't make it good for you. Just because it hurts doesn't make it bad. And just because you can't feel it doesn't mean that it's good. We have to be aware of how our body is perceiving the stimulus and the rate at which we're adapting. If you're not too sure about this, then this is the perfect example of when you might need a coach, somebody to help guide you through these experiences. So let's take it back to metabolism, because this is a word that many people know, but very few understand. And when I say very few, I'm even talking about qualified healthcare clinicians and professionals, coaches, many people that talk about health, but fail to understand or even be able to educate people on the importance, the fundamentals, the defining principles of metabolism. This rate of efficiency at which you can adapt, we can measure these rates to create a state of adaptation, homeostasis, to see where you are at any given time, and then we can come back and we can measure it again in the future to see, well, have you made a change? Have you made a change, positive or negative, based on your homeostasis, based on your metabolism? Have you made a positive change? And if so, then we can argue that you're getting healthier. You're getting better. But if we aren't making these assessments along the way, then we're unable to quantify, we're unable to argue successfully that you may have gotten healthier. At the interplay between these two terms, metabolism and homeostasis, these are the defining principles to health in a health and fitness environment or a health and fitness industry. And what I would just love for you to take away from this video is that all metabolism is the rate of efficiency at which you can adapt to a stimulus. And it's based on the interplay of the 11 systems that are occurring in your body, and how you think you're going may be muddied based on your perception of what homeostasis is. You might be thinking you're doing really well, but if you're not measuring it, you'll never know. And so we need to be sure, and this is why we measure. I use the example of the cigarette because it lands with a lot of people. Just because you get good at smoking a cigarette doesn't mean that it's good for you. Anyway, thoughts? Let's have a discussion around it. I would really love to get some opinions on the health aspect of health and fitness before we wipe the whiteboard and take a dive into the interplay of health, performance, and body composition as it pertains to us as humans. And the thing that I love doing the most, which is coaching people to perform better. Many people come to me and ask, how can I lose some weight, which is a body composition goal. I want to get stronger, which is a performance goal, or fitter or faster. But very few people come to me and say, I want to sleep better at night. I don't want to wake up in the morning and feel pain in my left knee. I don't want to go for a run and have the first 3 minutes suck because my shins are cramping or feeling really tight or pinchy, and then they start to warm up and I get into my run. No one ever comes to me and asks me, how can I be more healthy? The first thing they always ask me is based on either a body composition or a performance goal. We can't have that conversation until we talk about metabolism and the importance that that has on all of the other aspects of performance and homeostasis, and taking the subjective element out of homeostasis. Just because this feels good doesn't necessarily make it good. We need to make it a little bit more objective. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed this video. If you've got any questions, please shoot them to me. I've been getting a lot of questions about just a whole range of things, which has inspired this video because I want to dive into them. And I'm thinking of starting a little segment just called Asking the Coach. So you can ask me questions if you like, and I can put that up on the segment. Happy to dive into anything that you want to talk about. And before I get inundated with another 60 messages, yes, I have got a mic on the way. I know there's a lot of road noise where I live, and I'm really sorry about that. Unfortunately, it's not as simple as just click and buy. I want to get something that's high quality, but I don't want to go and spend $400 on it either. So there's a lot of things happening, but just understand that I am taking all of your advice on board, and the audio quality will improve very soon. Anyway, thanks so much for watching, guys. I can't wait to see you on the next video. This is Principles of Performance, and I'll see you later. That was pretty good. All that way to grab my water and didn't even drink it. Idiot. All right, we're going off the top. We're just gonna take it. We're just gonna take it and run. Oh, my voice is gone. What's up, guys? Welcome back to Principles of Performance. In today's video, we're gonna decide. What's the point of the video? Just get to the point of the video, Cam. It's an intro. For sake. It's an intro. Have some fun with it. The health and fitness industry